Welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, where we bring you conversations with the top business minds on Long Island and around the nation every week. Featuring expert consultants and small business owners who have found success but are also willing to share their top tips, failures, and give gritty, matter-of-fact advice based on their firsthand experience. Now, let's get down to business on Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello and welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio. My name is Ray Schwetz, AVP of Business Banking at Jovia Financial Credit Union, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill, CEO, keeper of the brand, marketing and digital agency.
We're focused on being the premier resource for business and entrepreneurship. We bring you weekly business advice, tips, tools, and services that help you grow your business. Plus, we interview the top business leaders in the industry.
Yes, and I'm very excited because helping us today gaining business empowerment, we're with Anthony Forgione. He is the Director of Business Development at HIA-LI, the Hauppauge Industrial Association, and he's advocating for advocating for Long Island businesses. Anthony, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Well, we're very excited to have you. As I told Donyshia, you're the man with the connections. I feel like Anthony knows everyone. So why don't you just start by telling us just a little bit about yourself?
Okay, a little bit about me. So let's see. Married, 3 kids, 2 lovely granddaughters that torture me.
That's what they're supposed to do.
That's what they're supposed to do. Been working with the HIA for about 7 years. Before that, I was with JP Chase in Manhattan for about 27 years. So very well rounded out, dealing with businesses throughout my career, from the very small to the very big. So, and then from a side note, I love going on vacations and I love cooking too.
Oh, very nice. All right, so we'll have to get some recipes from you.
Not a problem.
And some traveling stories.
Okay.
Now, why the transition from banking at Chase to coming over to the HIA? Tell me a little bit about that.
So, working with JP Chase, and I was an executive director. So we were doing a lot of networking, a lot of calling. And so I was very familiar with the HIA-LI because I attended a number of their programs. I saw the interaction they had. I saw the ability of the organization to connect people. And when you're trying to either break into a new market or you're trying to increase your market share, it's important to deal with organizations such as ours that can help you, that you can leverage. So it came a point, I got a little tired of traveling the United States of America every day, and this opportunity came up, and I said, wow, why not? Director of Business Development, let me go jump on it, and I did.
That's fantastic. And I'll tell you, just full transparency to our listeners, I am a member of HIA-LI. I do miss the live events at the Crest Hollow Country Club. Just a network of people coming together to help small businesses really grow in capacity and make relationships and build so that we can push Main Street forward. And so can you just share with our audience what type of businesses you work with?
So from a business standpoint, we are across the board. So, whether it's technology, whether it's hospitality, whether it's energy, whether it's just professional services, attorneys, CPAs, we're across the board. When you're talking about size, we deal with the very large, the JP Morgans, the PSEG Long Islands. But then again, we deal with the very small, to the deli around the corner, who wants us to leverage our organization too. So we're really across the board. I would say we are like Long Island. So where Long Island is probably 88, 89% small business, small, mid-sized, depending on your definition. That's our membership right now, is 89, 88% of small to mid-sized business with the big ones. So that's who we deal with.
And what differentiates you, HIA, from other groups like LIA, CBA, CDC, all the acronyms that
all the ABCs, yes. So all the ABCs. First of all, we collaborate with all of them. That's number one. We collaborate with them as far as different initiatives. We collaborate with them on. We'll send them our calendar events. They'll send us their calendar events. We don't want to overlap their annual meeting with our annual meeting. So we all get along very good. So what would I would say is the difference? I would say every single one has a different objective. I think ours is like more grassroots. I think we are down trying to connect businesses. We're trying to drill into what's more important for a small business or even a large business. So I would answer that as I think we're more of a grassroots organization.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And so what exactly is the HIA-LI and what is their mission? What is your mission? What do you do?
So the HIA-LI started as the Hauppauge Industrial Association. It started like 45 years ago. It actually started because there was a blackout in the park, and they needed someone who would be the advocate for that park going forward. So we're the advocate for the park. The park is the second largest in the nation. Only Silicon Valley is bigger. And since those days, over those 45 years, we've grown to be a business association across Long Island. So I have members in New Jersey, I have members in New York City, I have members in Connecticut, I have members in other states that do business on Long Island, so they see the value of joining our organization. So I would also say, so our organizations, we put on educational programs throughout the year. We have networking throughout the year. We're advocating for certain things throughout the year. It's all about our membership, and it's all about what's going on in Long Island.
And do you have some stories? I'm sure you have stories. Who am I kidding? But do you have some stories that you'd like to share about some of the ways that the HIA-LI has worked with businesses and made an impact?
So, there's a lot of stories.
I'm sure.
I would say, recent stories, we worked with the town of Islip, with the airport, with Campolo, Middleton, McCormick, which is a law firm, and we did a survey for them. And part of the survey, what the survey was, is that if we increased airplanes coming out of MacArthur Airport, what would that mean economically for Long Island? And the results were staggering. So we gave these surveys to the town of Islip, Angie Carpenter, Shelley LaRose, the commissioner, and they were dealing with them anyway. But because of these survey results, Breeze Airlines came into MacArthur. So that's one success story. Then we go down to smaller success stories where we're just connecting people. I was dealing with the owner of the franchises for Bagel Boss the other day, and he was like, I really like to get into Hauppauge or potentially Huntington, and I connected him with a couple of people that I think it could work with. So we're across the spectrum. I think mostly the success stories, what we take really pride in is when we sit back and say, wow, we really had something going on with these people. We really brought a value added.
No, that's fantastic. And I think, having support from organizations like yourself, like HIA, really leads to the impact that's being made and how you work with small businesses. And so can you just share with us, a little bit about the committees that the HIA has and the events? I'm all about the events. It just really excites me.
Well, to answer your question before, all our events are back in person. So the Crest Hollow will be in person this year, just to let you know.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So we have programs throughout the years. Throughout the year. We have events. The committees, we have very robust committees. They meet typically once a month. Some meet every other month. We have a really impactful HR committee. People are members of the HIA because they want to be on the HR committee. It's very powerful. We have a business acceleration. We have a social responsibility committee. We have a very robust manufacturing committee. And yes, manufacturing is alive in Long Island. It is not dead. It is very robust. So we have all those different types of committees. And then our programs are all educational. We try to do, it's not about just bringing a program. We want to bring a program that someone gets something out of, that when they leave, they go, oh, wow. So like February 15th, we have an economic survey. We surveyed a bunch of CEOs on Long Island, getting their, his or her impression of what the future looks like, what's their confidence level, what are the bells and whistles, what's their push things right now that keep them up at night. So we're going to have that. And people that are interpreting that survey. We'll give the results, but you have like Kevin O'Connor, the CEO of Dime, Rich Human, President CEO of H2M. We have Renee Flagger, who's very excited, the director of Girls Inc. for the not-for-profit. And then we have Dr. Patrick O'Shaughnessy from Catholic Health. So now here you have a survey, but now you have leaders in the Long Island business community that's going to give their perspective of it. So we have these different types of programs throughout the year. Obviously, we have our large trade show, a business expo on May 25th, which is the largest in Long Island. So it's really about just keep it going, keep on connecting members, bring value added to everything we do.
You are listening to Tara Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill, and our guest today is Anthony Forgione. He's the Director of Business Development at the HIA-LI, the Hauppauge Industrial Association, advocating for Long Island businesses.
How would you advise a small business that is really, trying to ensure that they have their feet on the pulse, their finger on the pulse of everything Long Island, because you can't possibly be on every single committee with every single organization. And so as small businesses are trying to, stop working on the business, but focusing on pushing the business forward, what advice would you give them on how they select committees and what organizations to really be a part of? That's something I know is really heavy on the hearts of so many businesses. They want to be a part of everything. They want to network with everyone, but they want to build relationships. And it's just not enough hours in the day to do so.
No, I would agree with that. I mean, everyone has a day job. You could spend the rest of your time dealing with our organization or any other organization if you participate in anything. Well, what I would say to a small business, you have to be involved. You have to be connected to our organization or other organizations that make sense for you, because the idea is to leverage what we have, leverage our HR committee, leverage our relationship with the Small Business Association, leverage our relationships with the counties, with the state, Empire Development, leverage the different things that we can bring to you as far as what grants are available, what's funding's available, what are other small businesses seeing right now? What are they doing? So that's what I would recommend. And see, I sit down with small businesses and I'm like, I like to get, okay, so what's your business? What's your strategic plan? What do you want to do over the next year? And then I would direct them into certain committees or direct them to certain programs they should participate in. But you have to be involved. That would be my comments on that.
Yeah, and I feel like that's one of the benefits of membership is that certainly you have this wealth of committees, you have the trade show, but also you have the advice of the folks, you and your team to kind of guide us and say, hey, you know what? I think based on what you're trying to achieve here, these are the committees you should be involved with. So
I agree.
You're not just going in blind.
No.
And I think folks need to take advantage of that more. Now, what are the biggest misconceptions about the HIA-LI and what you do?
So the biggest misconception is everyone, well, not everyone. This has gotten better, but when I first started, people were like, oh, well, you're a Hauppauge. I'm like, yes, we're Hauppauge. That's correct. We are the advocate for the park in Hauppauge, but we're also a business community organization across Long Island. So I think that's one of the misconceptions. I think that's gotten better.
Yes.
The park was renamed from the Hauppauge Industrial Park to the Long Island Innovation Park at Hauppauge. The reason why it was renamed is because the economic output, which is like, I don't know, $14 billion that are coming out of that park, it's not a Hauppauge thing. Yeah, it's a Hauppauge thing. It's a Suffolk County thing. It's a Long Island thing, and it's a New York State thing. So I think that's the most misconception from people. They're like, oh, you only handle Hauppauge. No, we don't just handle Hauppauge. We're all over Long Island.
I think with some of your rebranding also, that's getting the news out there in a much better way. And I know folks from near and far Long Island, sometimes outside of Long Island. I mean, so I have plenty of folks from Queens and the other boroughs at the trade show this past year. So, and can you tell us a little bit about that trade show and how that works? Because it's the largest business-to-business trade show on Long Island, and it's a wonderful event to participate in. So please share Share with us more.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful event. It's a one-day event. We do have a pre-trade show networking probably a couple of weeks before, which we get all the exhibitors, sponsors, and supporters together. But the show is really about giving businesses an opportunity to exhibit, to make business connections. We have breakout sessions. We have executive programming in the morning and in the afternoon. It's really an exciting day. Last year for the first time we had a number of manufacturers come in and they exhibited, and it was really more of, hey, we're in Long Island. This is what we make. No one knows we make it. So it was about educational. So the trade show really brings the business community together, and whether you just want to enhance your relationship with a current client or you want to make business connections, it is a great venue. It's a great day to be out there and to mingle and to make these connections and to show Long Island what you have and what you're doing. I mean, and also the trade show, we promote it on almost every local media on Long Island. From News 12 to WBAB to BLI to 880 CBS on Odyssey. It's on all of it, promoting it. So, and all these people are represented on the floor. So it's exciting. I think it's very exciting, and you need to be there.
I also think from the certainly from business to business standpoint, it's a must go to.
Right.
But in addition to that, I know I've run into other folks from other walks of life, not necessarily small business, but the educator community, for example. So can you talk a little bit about some of that partnership?
Yeah, I mean, for at the trade show you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and also HIA-LI does do educational programs with the schools. So
we do a lot of educational programs. We have a number of colleges that come to the trade show. They exhibit. They just want Adelphi will be there this year. So it's Suffolk will be there. So it's different colleges that come up. It's really educational and meeting people. Yes, there are business people that are walking around. Business people have children, so they're looking at college. We're very close with the educational right now, and I would say we're close going all the way into high school. We're dealing with a number of high schools right now that are turned to us to say, can you provide a career day to us or some sort of day where you can talk to our students? So right now we're working on something with the school district of Hauppauge where we're going to bring in a young professional panel who are going to speak to the students. We're talking CEOs and other executives, and they're going to talk about how they got to where they are and the different perspective, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to look to replicate that. I know Brentwood is very interested in doing something like that with us. So we're starting at the high schools. In October 13th, we're having a workforce development conference, probably the first one on Long Island, where we'll have the presidents of colleges sitting on a panel talking about workforce development, what colleges are doing, and that will be at Farmingdale State College. So we'll have John Nader on the panel, we'll have Ed Bonneau from Suffolk on the panel, and Christine Royden will ask to be on the panel from Adelphi. So we want to have all the major colleges sitting together on one panel talking about what the future looks like, what they're doing, how are we keeping youth on Long Island, and which is so important right now.
Absolutely. This peninsula, it's not like other states or other cities where you can just drive through, or we have a lot of college towns. Once you get to the Hamptons, that's it. So we need to keep all young people coming back. And I just love the concept of ingraining in our young folks that you can take up a trade. You can be a small business owner. The vision is there. And so many generations have been focused on going to college, going to work. But without some young people out there, working in their garage, coming up with some of the amazing ideas, we would not have some of the major brands and corporations that exist today. So kudos to HIA for taking on that initiative.
Thank you.
What are some of the challenges that you face? I'm sure I mean, the pandemic gave us all challenges, but I mean, in addition to that, what do you see? Like, what are some of the challenges you're facing?
Well, going back to pandemic, obviously COVID was a challenge for every business on Long Island. So we had a double challenge. So now as a business, we're dealing with COVID, but now we're trying to help businesses that are dealing with COVID. So, so it was a double challenge. So while we're trying to deal with COVID, we're arranging webinars with the SBA and with the Farmingdale and Stony Brook small business centers, just talking businesses through how you get funding. I mean, you would be surprised how many businesses didn't even know how to apply for the funding. You know, how do we apply? What do we do with something like this? We had Northwell Health and Catholic Health on webinars talking about, okay, this is what COVID is. We think, and this is how you can protect yourself. So we were that was a big challenge to keep on doing that when we're, obviously trying to survive as an organization like every other organization.
Yeah.
So I think that is a big challenge. That was a big challenge of ours.
And what are the accomplishments that you're most proud of?
There's so many different accomplishments. I mean, going back, the HIA was instrumental getting the new highway exit off that northern state, which really ease the congestion. We were one of the first ones that brought in daycare into the park. I mentioned what went on with the airport. We're very close with different developers. Suffolk County has reached out to us about they want to do a workforce development center like in the middle of the island. They want us involved in assisting with that.
I think that's a great idea.
It's a great idea. We'll get all the colleges and the BOCES and everyone else involved in something like that because it's all about training young people. It's all about educating them, and it's all about keeping them here. So we're involved with all of that. So it's not one thing. It's like everything that we're involved in. We get very take very pride of it.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio. Our guest today is Anthony Forgione, Director of Business Development at Hauppauge Industrial Association, HIA-LI, advocating for Long Island businesses. My name is Donyshia Boston-Hill, along with Ray Schwetz on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Anthony, throughout your 30-year career and now with the HIA-LI, you've worked with a lot of businesses. I'm sure that there's some wonderful experiences you have that you can kind of share with us. So when we love the top fives, right? So what's your top 5 bits of advice for business out there?
Get involved. If you don't have a voice being heard, then you're not being heard. So it's important to stay involved. It's important to leverage our organization. It's important to leverage the other organizations you see valuable. That is really my top, what I would say to small businesses. I would say to any business, but it's important to be involved. We were at we did a ribbon cutting for a company in Hauppauge, and we had Senator Matara was there. It gave the CEO a chance who said, I'm not moving. This is where I'm staying. But these are my hot buttons. So it gave him a chance to express that to our senator, which is important. So that's what I say. You need to have a voice. You need to use our organization to have a voice.
And what would you say is the top thing that you kind of see businesses make mistakes with and what they could avoid? I mean, obviously, every business is a little unique, but I'm sure you see some trends, businesses making a huge mistake. Can you save us that?
Well, as far as I don't know if it's a huge mistake. I think sometimes what I see in businesses, and this goes back to even J.P. Morgan, is businesses tend to grow too quickly, or they're in different places at once. I think you got to understand what your strength is, and you go forward with your strength. Now, can you expand? Absolutely. But I've seen businesses overexpand too quickly. They're not ready for it. Their personnel is not ready for it. And in this day and age, trying to hire people is pretty hard right now too. So I think that's it. You got to stay within your sweet spot. Yes, expansion is great. I don't think if you overexpand too quickly, I think that's a mistake, and businesses get in trouble from that.
Now, you mentioned that, it's hard to hire people these days. How are you helping some of your clients and members really deal with that trying time of trying to run their business, not having enough manpower to, provide the services and some of the goods that's needed for their clients?
Yeah, no, it's a big issue. It's from the hospitality sector who can't get people to wait tables or cook, to the manufacturing people who can't get people to be on the line. It really is a huge problem, and I think with COVID, people just don't want to go back to work. I don't understand that, but that's beside the point. So the way we've helped them is we have a very good relationship with Suffolk County Department of Labor, Nassau County Department of Labor, New York State Department of Labor. We've connected people to the Department of Labor. And there's also different programs that the Department of Labor has that people do not know that they have. Like they'll pay for certain training. They'll pay for certain thing. You just have to understand what's out there. So we have done that. We've had job fairs before to try to help our members do job fairs. In the trade show last year, we had manufacturers there. We actually opened it up a little bit. Not that the trade show is a job fair. It's far from it. But we let the manufacturers advertise that, if you're looking for work, come down to the trade show because we'll take applications. So we try to stay very flexible. Obviously, our HR committee is there bringing different speakers in to address it. But I think, I had a conversation with a company that they can't get truckers. They couldn't get people to drive trucks, and they're delivering. They're a food distributor. So we put them in contact with Suffolk County, and Suffolk County is trying to, add that to the list of people that they're looking for truckers. So that's really what we do. We try to connect them with the different agencies that's involved here on Long Island and New York State.
That's and I think that's the right way to go. So give us your contact information so that people know where to find you and where to find the HIA-LI.
Yeah, so, my contact information is Anthony Forgione. You can call me 631-543-5355. You could email me Forgione, it's Forgione at HIA-LI.org, and I will respond to you.
Thanks for being with us, Anthony Forgione. He's the Director of Business Development at the HIA-LI, the Hauppauge Industrial Association, advocating for Long Island businesses.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
I'd like to leave you with DB's philosophy. The currency of real networking is not greed, but generosity. Keith Peruzzi. And I'll say that's Ray Schwetz.
Thank you. We want to thank you for being with us. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill, your co-host and producers. Visit nccradio.org for more information. We're available on Odyssey, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and as a podcast in iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This has been Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.